What's up guys, and welcome back to Tech Plant. Today we're on another outdoor adventure. I'm in the great north woods of Wisconsin and we're going to go hunt down some carnivorous plants. I'm on a family fishing trip, and while we were kind of fishing near one of these bogs, I did notice that there were some carnivorous plants, so I do know they're there. However, we're going to take the kayak out so we can get a much closer look. I did try and record this video a few days earlier, but we did run into some pretty bad storms, so I did not get a chance to. I do know that there are two different types of plants on this bog, but we'll see if we can still get to them. Because of the bogs and the way they float, they can move across the lake depending on which direction the wind is blowing. I really like kayaking up on these flowages because what it used to be is just a large amount of land that they flood, so all the peaks remain as islands, but all the valleys fill up with water. And it makes for a really great place to kayak because it's very interesting and has lots of channels and different separate lakes. Here's a quick look at my first attempt when I tried to get out there, but you can see the storm clouds are getting pretty bad, and once I saw lightning, that was pretty much enough for me, and I had to head back, and I did not get a chance to film. Alright guys, we're about halfway, and what we're headed towards is actually a bog. This one I believe is called the 40-acre bog, and we should be able to find some plants there, specifically ones that eat insects, so it should be pretty cool. And these are obviously all going to be native to my state, so I'm pretty excited to show you these things. You might not be able to see it yet, but off in the distance is the bog. Alright guys, we're getting pretty close to the bog here. The only issue is the wind has been blowing, I guess, against me this whole time, which means it's coming from the back of the bog. And little do you know, or maybe you know this, but bogs are actually floating in most cases where they can float across the lake. So with this wind doing what it's doing right now, it might actually blow the bog closer to this peninsula, and it might be difficult for us to access where I believe these plants should be. But we're still going to give it a shot and check it out. And it does look like it did blow pretty close to the peninsula, so we might get locked away from the pitcher plants, which might be kind of sad. Again, I was here a day before, or a few days before, when it was storming, and here are some pictures I snapped with my cell phone. I'm sorry I did not film it, but it got a little dangerous, and I was worried the bog would trap me on the inside when it pinched up against the peninsula. This plant is called Sarracenia purpea, and it's one of the only pitcher plants here local to Wisconsin, so it's pretty darn cool, and I'm happy I saw it. These are easy to spot from a distance because they have very unique flowers that poke up amongst all the other grass and allow you to see where they are. I saw these flowers last year before I was educated about what they really were, and I'm glad I got to experience these in real life. But anyways, back to the bog. We're here now, so let's check it out. Luckily enough for me, I'm able to actually go back inside this bog because from the outskirts it's very difficult to reach anything. And like I said before, it's really dangerous to walk on these bogs, so I can't do anything but from the kayak. A really good sign of finding any sort of carnivorous plant usually starts with sphagnum moss. This is a good sign that you're on a peat bog and it has little nutrients, and it's a perfect place for these carnivorous plants to grow. If you see this kind of moss, there's a good chance you're going to see other cool plants. Before spotting carnivorous plants, I actually found an orchid. This is called the dragon's mouth orchid, and it's one native to Wisconsin and found on a lot of bogs. I think orchids are really cool, and I'm really starting to get into them lately, so I'm glad to know that there are actually some local to Wisconsin. Even though we have harsh winters, they still make it. They may not be the tropical kind, but they're still very pretty, and they've got quite a few rare ones in our state. I do really like exploring these bogs because they have a lot of plants that are very unique to them, and they just are pretty beautiful. I'm lucky too that this one has these small inlets, but they're just some really cool scenery, and I really love how many ferns grow on these things. So here is exactly what we were hunting, and that is Drosera rotundifolia. I have made videos about this plant in the past because I actually do own some, but it's really cool to see these things in the wild where they actually belong. I'm going to show you quite a few different ones, but as you can see, a lot of them are quite red. The more green looking ones are going to be the ones that don't get a lot of sun, but when they do get a lot of sun, they turn red. And that's kind of a defense mechanism so they don't get too burned. I wish I could have got much more steady footage, but it's very difficult from the kayak and I did not have the proper supplies for this, but I think you can still enjoy it anyways. These things were actually all over back here. I bet you I saw probably about 100 of them, but again, most of them were kind of out of reach of the camera. These ones were actually towards the edge where I can see them. I wish I could have found some of the other species that we have in Wisconsin, but maybe I'll have to seek out some additional bogs elsewhere. I did discover quite a big beaver home. I didn't see any beaver around, but it's still cool to see these structures. These are kind of all over up here on this flowage, and I just enjoy seeing them and when a random beaver shows up. I really love being up in the great outdoors in the north woods, and I'd highly suggest taking a trip out into nature. A lot of people get caught up on traveling to other countries or other crazy cool places, but there's a lot to see and discover just going outdoors in the woods camping or to some rented cabin up in the north woods. I got a lot of cool footage of animals, but again, this was from inside of a boat, so it's pretty shaky and very difficult to get good footage. I'm always glad to have this YouTube channel because I can kind of combine my love for photography and videography with my love for nature and plants. Alright guys, that pretty much sums up this video. I wish we could have found a pitcher plant. I was really looking for one, hoping we could, but I think because most of that bog got cut off from the wind, we weren't able to. But luckily there's plenty of Drosera rotundifolia to find, and it's pretty cool showing you guys what an awesome plant that really is. I hope you guys enjoyed that trip to the bog and you want to look forward to more outdoor adventures. As always, may your plants go strong and healthy. I'll see you next time.